워렌 버핏은 이 가치 투자의 대부 밑에서 일하면서 가치에 대한 정확한 이해를 한 다음에 1956년 $100로 주식 투자를 시작합니다. 그리고 세계 최고의 갑부 반열에 올랐습니다.
워렌 버핏, 미국의 전설적인 투자자. 전설적이라는 이름을 붙일 만한 수익률 20년간 무려 연평균 22%. 투자 좀 한다 하는 사람도 한 번 벌면 한 번 잃는 게 보통인데
따봉!
1930년 미국 오마하 출생. 그래서 오마하의 현인. 아버지는 증권 세일즈맨. 가업을 이어서 대박을 낸 케이스. 아버지 손을 붙잡고 따라간 증권 거래소의 영향. 11살부터 주식 투자를 시작. 시티 서비스라는 회사의 차트를 보고 38불에 사서 40불에 팔았으나 200불까지 가는 것을 보고 장기 투자의 중요성을 깨달음. 네브래스카대 경영학, 컬럼비아대 대학원 경제학 전공. 역시 사람은 명문대를 나와야 함. 벤저민 그레함으로부터 가치 투자라는 기법을 배움. 가치 투자란 싼 주식을 사서 오래 갖고 있다가 팔기. 외모에서 풍겨나오는 회장님 포스처럼 투자회사 버크셔 회서A의 회장. 이 회사는 2016년 시가총액 기준 세계 4위의 기업. 2위로는 애플, 구글, 마이크로소프트, 문. 2016년 12월 그의 재산은 약 한화 86조 원으로 세계 2위. 전 세계 기부 순위에서도 빌 게이츠에 이어 2위.
기부 및 초콜릿.
초기 매매 차익을 위한 투자에서 차츰 기업을 통째로 인수하여 자회사로 만들어버리는 방식으로 운영. 하지만 회사 경영에는 크게 간섭하지 않음. 즉 기존 경영진을 믿고 맡기는 방식. 그가 투자했던 회사입니다.
Geico,
Wells Fargo,
Goldman Sachs,
American Express,
Washington Post,
Walt Disney,
IBM,
BNSF Railway,
ExxonMobil, Walmart,
Costco,
Kraft Heinz,
The Procter & Gamble Company,
General Motors.
코카콜라. 버핏은 5살 무렵 때 길거리에 병뚜껑을 주스면서 코카콜라가 아주 잘 팔리는 기업이구나라는 깨달음을 얻기도 함. 이것은 그의 데이터 수집 능력이 아주 어렸을 유년 시절부터 지금까지 이어져 왔다는 것을 보여준다고 할 수 있습니다. 버핏이 투자했던 한국 기업. 기아자동차, 신영증권, 현대제철, KTNG, 대한제분, 포스코. 버핏은 자신이 잘 모르는 회사는 투자하지 않는다며 IT 기업보단 안정적인 산업 그리고 업계 1, 2위에 우량 회사에 투자하는 경향이 있는 듯해요. 이 부분은 약간 사회 비판의 소지가 있어요. 너무 캐시카우들만 가져가는 게 아니냐라는 것인데요. 혁신을 이끄는 것이 국가 발전에 기여하는 것인데 너무 돈의 흐름이 기초적인 산업에 흘러들어가는 것이 아니냐는 우려를 좀 보내왔었습니다. 하지만 투자의 세계는 냉혹한 법이죠. 위험한 주식에 투자하면 그만큼 깨먹을 확률도 크고요. 그리고 그는 장기 투자의 특성을 살려서 최근엔 혁신 기업에 투자를 하기도 합니다. 억소리 나는 런치. 버핏과의 점심 식사권을 주로 경매로 판매하는데 2016년 6월 한화 40억 원에 팔리게 됩니다. 수익은 전액 기부.
Well, I've been in this building 50 years. They've moved me around a little bit.
History on the walls of legendary investor Warren Buffett's office.
I formed my first partnership in May of 1956, so this was the year-end balance sheet, which I typed myself. In fact, you'll probably find a few typos in it. And these are the partners I had at the time, and this was my father-in-law. That was my roommate in college. That was his mother. That's my Aunt Alice. That's my sister Doris, and that's her husband Truman, and that was the gang. Yeah, if they kept a $10,000 investment, and then when I liquidated the partnership, reinvested that in Berkshire Hathaway, they would now have about $500 million. I did very well with small amounts of money back in 1964. And when a panic happens with a really good company, I like to buy.
Buffett's MO for investing. This 1901 New York Times article reminds him daily of an important lesson.
We never get out on a limb run. We always have lots of money. We never borrow a lot of money. First campaign I got really active in was when I was 10 years old in 1940, and Wilkie was running against Roosevelt. My dad thought that if Roosevelt got elected, that there'd never be another election.
A vocal Republican in his earlier years, Buffett now leans left and is a big Obama supporter.
We were talking about the economy, and I brought along some figures that I thought would be of interest to him. That was when I got the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
But he's never had political ambitions like his father.
That's my dad's campaign picture when he was 39 years old, running for Congress the first time in 1942. This is my dad's desk. This sat on his desk when I was a kid, when I was 10 years old, and I always admired it.
This is my favorite thing in your office. I need one of these. The too hard box.
Right. There's a lot of things that belong in there. The real problem is if they belong in there and I don't realize it.
And then there are the fun things, like the model Mars rover given to him by students at Caltech.
That beats getting a T-shirt.
And the mock Sports Illustrated cover.
I think if they ever bring me out, it'll be as Waterboy.
No fancy flat screen TV, just an old tube.
No computer.
That means no email, perhaps a secret to Buffett's success. Poppy Harlow, CNN, Omaha, Nebraska.
He was the single most successful investor of the 20th century. Time magazine named him one of the most influential people in the world. He's worth over $70 billion. He's Warren Buffett, and here are his top 10 rules for success.
How can other people tap dance to work? What's the secret of that?
You find your passion. You find your passion. I was very, very lucky to find it, when I was 7 or 8 years old, and fortunately, my children have found their passion. One son loves farming like nothing else. One son loves music like everything else, and all three of them love philanthropy and what they get to do. You're lucky in life when you find it, and you can't guarantee you're going to find it in your first job out. But I always tell the college students that come out, I say, take the job that you would take if you were independently wealthy. You're going to do well at it. If you think you're going to be a lot happier if you've got 2X instead of X, you're probably making a mistake. I mean, you ought to find something you like that works with that, and you'll get in trouble if you think that making 10X or 20X is the answer to everything in life, because then you will do things like borrow money when you shouldn't, or maybe cut corners on things that your employer wants you to cut corners on. Or it just doesn't make any sense. You won't like it when you look back on it. 3 things in hiring people: look for integrity, intelligence, and energy. And he said if that person didn't have the first 2, that the latter 2 would kill them. Because if they don't have integrity, you want them dumb and lazy. You don't want them smart and energetic. It never bothered me if people disagreed with what I thought, as long as I felt I knew the facts. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things I don't know a thing about. I just stay away from those. So I stay within what I call my circle of competence. Tom Watson said it best. He said, I'm no genius, but I'm smart in spots, and I stay around those spots. Well, I try and stay around those spots, and I just don't have a problem if somebody says, you're wrong on something. I go back and look at the facts, and I think that really is much more important, frankly, than having a few points of IQ or having an extra course or 2 in school or anything of the sort. You need emotional stability. I just read and read and read. I probably read 5 to 6 hours a day. I don't read as fast now as when I was younger, but I read 5 daily newspapers. I read a fair number of magazines. I read 10Ks. I read annual reports, and I read a lot of other things too. So I've always enjoyed reading. I love reading biographies. Famous lesson about a margin of safety, that you don't drive a truck that weighs 9,900 pounds across a bridge that says limit 10,000 pounds, because you can't be that sure about it. If you see something like that, you go down a little further down the road and you find one that says limit 20,000 pounds, and that's the one you drive across. The nature of capitalism is that people want to come in and take your castle. It's perfectly understandable. I mean, if I'm selling television sets or something, there's going to be 10 other people that are going to try and sell a better television set. If I have a restaurant here in Omaha, people are going to try and copy my menu and give more parking and take my chef and so on. So capitalism's all about somebody coming and trying to take the castle. Now, what you need is a castle that has some durable competitive advantage, some castle that has a moat around it. And that moat, one of the best moats in many respects, is to be a low-cost producer. But sometimes the moat is just having more talent. I mean, if you're the heavyweight champion of the world and you keep knocking out people, you've got a competitive advantage as long as you can keep doing it. And it's very profitable if you're the one that happens to be able to do it. If you can turn out great motion pictures, I mean, Steven Spielberg, I mean, he's a fellow to bet on, and it has enormous economic value. You'd be surprised at my days. I mean, they're very unstructured, no meetings. None. I mean, I don't like meetings, and I read a lot. I wish I were a faster reader. I'd get more done. But I do read a lot, and I'm on the phone a moderate amount. Our businesses run themselves basically out there. My job is allocating capital, and that's what I'm thinking about. But I don't like to have things all packed hour to hour to hour. And Bill and I are both extraordinarily lucky. I mean, we really get to do what we like to do, the way we want to do it, with people that we choose to be around, and they're terrific. I mean, we've really got everything our way, and we're very fortunate. And in his world, he has a different kind of pace than I have, but we both love it the way we do it. And my guess is that we're each the most productive in that particular mode too, because it fits our personalities and aptitudes. What kills great businesses, if you look at, I do believe in looking at history, and I like to study failure, actually. And my partner says, all I want to know is where I'll die, so I'll never go there. And we want to see what has caused businesses to go bad. And the biggest thing that kills them is complacency. I mean, you want a restlessness, a feeling that, that somebody's always after you, but you're going to stay ahead of them. You always want to be on the move. And when you've got a great business, like Coca-Cola, which is, there aren't any like Coca-Cola, but you really, the danger would always be that you rest on your laurels. But I see none of that, obviously, at Coca-Cola. But that is the key, to compete the same way when you've got 1.8 billion servings being sold daily as when you were selling 10 a day. And that restlessness, that belief that tomorrow is more exciting than today, you just have to have it permeate the organization.
Who was Ben Graham? He was your primary mentor, model?
He was a wonderful man, and he was my professor at Columbia. I read his book when I was 19 at the University of Nebraska, and I'd started investing when I was 11, and I started reading about it when I was like 7. So I'd gone through I read every book in the Omaha Public Library that there was on, by the time I was 12, on investing and stock market. And I had a lot of fun, but I never really found out, I never got grounded in anything. And it was entertaining, but it wasn't going to be profitable. And then I read Graham's book, The Intelligent Investor, when I was at the University of Nebraska. And that just opened the whole thing up to me. Yeah, and I named my oldest son is named Howard after my dad, Graham Buffett, and he was a marvelous man. Never expected anything from me in return. Ben Graham, in his low teens, looked around and he looked at the people he admired, and he said, I want to be admired, so why don't I just behave like them? And he found there was nothing impossible about behaving like them. And similarly, he did the same thing on the reverse side in terms of getting rid of those qualities.
You have given a lot of fabulous advice, but what's the best advice that you've ever received?
Well, I received it in a variety of forms, particularly from my father when I was very young. But I mean, he basically, I think, taught me how to live. Not that I did it perfectly or anything like that, but I mean, he was giving me lessons, but he wasn't doing it by preaching to me. He was doing it by example. But basically, well, the biggest lesson, in a sense, I got is the power of unconditional love. I mean, I think there is no power on earth like unconditional love. And I think that if you offer that to your child, I mean, you're 90% of the way home. And there may be days when you don't feel like it. It's not uncritical love. That's a different animal. But to know you always can come back, I mean, that is huge in life. That takes you a long, long way. And I would say that every parent out there that can extend that to their child at a very young age, it's going to make for a better human being.
And you felt like you got that kind of unconditional love from your dad?
I absolutely did, yeah.
That is a powerful thing.
It is a powerful thing.
Thank you for watching.